We are now on the other part, which is more of a panel discussion. As you see, we are ready right here. But before we get to this, I know you have questions. Some of you have been able to, jot down, write down questions. I will give, at around 5 minutes for you to be able to compile all the questions. Also, as our, panelists, take up these seats as well. So I'll let you know about that. But allow me to introduce to you today's, panelists, or rather today's panel. Who are these people who will be part of this panel this particular afternoon? Sorry. Yeah, we are privileged once again to be graced, no, let me not go that direction. Thank you so much, Dr. Laila, to be, for the patience and also for the sacrifice, sparing your time to come over and, grace us with your presence. We are really, happy that you're one of the panelists. And yes, we are going to, learn quite a lot from her as well. So even while we are at it, please, you can, carry on and have a seat on this other end as well. Yeah. A round of applause, please. Yeah, we continue encouraging one another as they take up the seats. Next, of course, is, I had introduced earlier, Dr. Donna Peter. Yeah, she's also a mother, but also the senior lecturer. Also, she's going to be part of the panel. So thank you so much for this. You're most welcome. The other person, a very dear friend of mine, but also one man who's been able to, I've gone through his hands, so to speak, is none other than Mr. Jackson Degwa. Mr. Jackson Degwa, you're most welcome. Mr. Jackson Degwa is the MD Design 40, and we're going to, I believe they're going to be given an opportunity to introduce themselves further. But for now, thank you so much for sparing your time to come over and to be able to answer a number of our questions and also to inspire us in one way or another. Please, you're welcome on this end. And then lastly, last but not least, we have Elizabeth Ngeshi Chege. Thank you so much for coming. Most welcome. She is, the current chairperson, Kenya Green Building Society. Please remember that in case you don't know what's the Wi-Fi is on. You can log in and try to do your own research, but we're going to hear quite a lot more from them as well. So once again, please, you're welcome to this other end. Thank you so much. So before we start, throwing in questions and all that, a simple exercise. Please stand up, if you don't mind. Please stand up. Design for inclusive design as a what? Design for inclusive design as what? Yeah, lunch was good. You may be seated. At least now we are now active. For inclusivity. You're here? That's fine. Okay, now please, let's take like 5 minutes or less, just to be able to write down those questions, structure them, and then I will be able to open it up, officially, and get things going. Thank you so much. I've just been reminded, for inclusivity, let's just clap our hands like this as well. Awesome. Thank you so much.
On the normal buses, it's much harder when you've got...
So sorry about it. Yeah, while we're having the panel on, we are privileged to have a moderator. And yeah, my sincere apologies. She's also a very good friend of mine. Schoolmates, classmates, and great friend as well. It's none other than Wambui Muragu, interior designer from Planning Interiors. Thank you so much for coming and also representing Planning Interiors. You are most welcome.
much harder when you've got
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are grateful. Mheshimiwa would wish to leave. So, once again, a hand of applause. Thank you so much for coming. May God bless you so much. Thank you.
So it's a much more stressful experience. The drivers help when they can, but they have a job to do. There are other people travelling besides people with children. Okay. So
hi everyone.
Most of them will try to help.
Yes, my name is Wambui, as you've heard, and I think we've had a very interesting day so far. Do you remember what we learned in the first session? Someone? You can just shout the answer or what you picked up in the first session. Yes.
When we design for diversity or inclusivity, we are not designing only for people with disability. We are designing for everyone.
What about the second session? Something that we picked up? That was Professor Mugendi. Oh, you were sharing about Professor Mugendi. There was the introduction. Who remembers the introduction? The architect who came. Anything we picked up?
I think in the first, my name is Charles Chetty from A+ Interiors. The architect, chief architect, mentioned that currently the construction sites are not adapted to the people with disabilities, especially members of staff working there. There is contractors, interior designers, architects, everything. Yeah.
In my experience, I know of a company that has employed deaf workers. So he's a contractor, but so you can, when they are on site, they talk in sign language. I find it very, very empowering. Okay, third session, what we learned. Third session, we've not learned anything from Mheshimiwa. Third session. Anything that has stood out? Okay. Okay.
I thought very many interesting things came out of that meeting. One of them is, it reminded me about having siblings, a sibling who is physically, do I say disabled? Physically empowered. It did remind me of that. And I think many of us have those stories somewhere. I thought that was very, very powerful. He also said a couple of things that I thought were very, very interesting. Not the part where he said he also disabled his own wife. But I thought there were very many interesting things. I can only remember that, but I think I'll remember some more when this is done.
Okay, what about when something you've learned when you've, okay, who has met a new person today? Someone who, a new person, like you didn't come with them or you've met them over lunch, okay? What have we, something interesting you've learned in your interactions? Someone who wants to share? Okay. And we need the extra mic.
Thank you. My name is Grace Wangondo from Landmark Interiors, Mombasa. I have learned from one lady, I don't remember her name, who is a student with the Washington institution, that at least we have a change in terms of the curriculum of interior design. They're able to interact with the industry more now, rather than what we had previously. I studied 9-10 years ago, so there's a big difference now.
Something else from the interactions? Something else? Okay. And you introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. My name is Dan Mugambi from Donkey's Arts and Creations Limited, Mombasa. I was interacting with one of the students also, and he was eager to actually know what we as employers look for in the current state of employment when we are looking for designers or either interns. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I think when we come for such, and especially being first ever, it's a great opportunity to also know other people over and above learning from the speaker, because then we are together at work, at school, and in life. So the panelists are ready to hear our questions. So how we're going to do it, since we are seated in tables, we will first have questions from each table so that everybody can participate. So 2-3 minutes, put your question. If you hear, you can have at least 2 questions, so that if your question is asked by another table, then you can ask the second one. So 2-3 minutes, but then put your personal questions for at the end. So you'll ask, then the panelists, we start. Then after that, we then ask the individual questions. Is that okay? We've understood. So that it's also an opportunity to know the people across the table. No, the questions are not, the questions are, yes, from your program. Did we all receive the program? We know what the panel discussion is about. Yeah, it's back here. The panel discussion is inclusive design, the plight of persons with disabilities. But the questions can go more broader, because even as we've listened to the speakers, new questions have come up, right? So make it as open. There's no wrong question. Just congregate in the group, get 2 questions. If one is asked, then you can ask the second one. Yeah. Let me put my stopwatch. You have 1.5 more minutes. Okay. Half a minute remaining. And you can get the people in your group who will ask the questions. Ten seconds. You're ready. Hey, you have, I think think 10 questions. Okay. Many groups have indicated they are now ready. Okay. Some groups have 10 questions. It's okay, just two for now. Okay. I would request that we hold on off for now, just for a few minutes. Maybe our speakers, hold off the questions. Maybe our speakers can then introduce themselves, and then we can start the questions. They can give us a better background. Maybe you heard Kenya Green Building Council, you've never heard about it. You want to hear more. You heard University of Nairobi, you've never heard about it, Yes. So maybe we can hear from our speakers first, by way of introduction, then we hear your questions. So for the panelists, you can share a bit about yourself, where you work, what you do, and why this topic of inclusivity is passionate to you. Yeah. You can start with Dr. Lilac.
You didn't give me the questions before. One boy. Good afternoon, everybody. It's really nice to be among fellow designers and fellow design thinkers. My name is Lilac Osanjo. I'm a designer, but more importantly, or more whatever, is that I am the director of the School of the Arts and Design. We teach interior design and other design as well. We can talk about that later. And I'll gladly talk to anybody who wants to know about design. And I encourage you to be academic. Because if you do not, the only way the industry can grow is if you have thinkers who can explain what the others are doing or what they do. So it's one thing to sit and believe that you're the best, but it's another thing to talk about what you think is best about what you do. So it's very, very important that we generate a big pool of interior design thinkers and academicians as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Wangeshi Shege. I'm the chairperson of the Kenya Green Building Society. I'm also the vice chairperson for the World Green Building Council in Africa. So a lot of the discussions we have here today, I'm sure you're wondering why green building is part of this. People spend 90% of their time in buildings, and the final part of the building they have experience with is the interior design. We can either create disability by our design or enhance the well-being of people by how we select, design our buildings. So I see a huge link and connection to health and well-being, because that's our bottom line for Kenya Green Building Society. As much as we talk about greenhouse gas emissions and climate change, bottom line is we're designing buildings for people. So we have to understand how people work, how people are affected by buildings, and how we affect our own environment by what we select, what we buy for the buildings. As always, Kenya Green Building Society is available for queries. We have contacts, and we'd like a lot of you to come on board as well. Because in the formation of IDAC, we really advocated the ministry that we need an association for interior designers, because when we certify green buildings, and we have 28 in the pipeline, there's 7 certified already, we're showing that Kenya can do it. We don't have to import interior designers. We can do it ourselves. We have all the technical details available, and we'll ask you to approach us to get all the technical manuals. We know what the technicality of the volatile organic compound of paint that you should use in buildings that doesn't affect human beings, and other technical details that we are actually pushing the industry to do. Lastly, I just wanted to mention that with the whole disability discussion, the inclusivity is that we're designing for people. So it's not one set of people or others. It's everyone, as the young gentleman there mentioned. So For us, we don't even discuss it because it should be inherent in the design. How can you certify a green building that half the population can't access, can't use? And the last item is, how do people use the building? You have to consider all the senses, also sick people. I know we're talking about the impaired who are registered with the Association for Disability, but there's also pregnant women. I even wonder how pregnant women get to work or even do a lot of the things in the city or in some of the buildings. So without taking too much time, open for your questions. Thank you.